We're continuing coverage of the weekend hospital shooting, and the shooting, brings up feelings for the people involved in the community. And joining us now is Dr. Lark Eshleman, a trauma consultant. Dr. Lark, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Happy to be with you.
Thank you. Happy to have you. So just first talk about, how do people respond to these kinds of horrific incidents?
There's no one response. Everybody has their own individual way of dealing, but generally, we disbelieve. It's difficult to believe that something like this happened so close to home and in a hospital, dear heavens. Many people, however, get kind of stuck in the feelings, and they may, for example, think about this over and over and over again and not be able to get out of that thinking process, or have bad dreams or nightmares about it. They might see a shooter around every corner because of what just happened and what they just learned about the incident, or maybe afraid to go out, just need to stay home or feel that they need to. They may cry more, or they may do the opposite and just go numb and not feel anything. Some people actually do something that is it seems counterintuitive. They put themselves in dangerous situations to sort of prove that nothing like that can happen to them. Doesn't always work out very well for them. None of these are the best, but they may be our way of coping.
So, a hospital, 24/7 operation. A lot of people don't want to go to a hospital, but they have to at some point in their life. Children, you think about the children involved, not only in that day, but children who have to go to the hospital, visit family members, or get treatment. What does one say to them or to anybody if they have fear of going into a hospital now?
It's so difficult, Michael. It's such a good question. So we need hospitals. We need our health. We have to do what we have to do. Some of the things that we might do, for example, are to try the Mr. Rogers approach. Look for the helpers. In other words, do we know someone who works at the hospital? Might we be able to ask them to give a reassurance, especially to a child? How about if you know someone who's recently been to the hospital, could you ask them, tell me about your experience. Please let me know that you're okay, that everything was fine. And that, again, could help children who are afraid to go if they know someone who has been. Or with kids, it's helpful to give them some sense of control, because the fear is we don't have control. Well, it's kind of true. We don't in many situations. But to give children a sense of control, what pajamas are you going to bring? Which stuffy do you want with you? Or favorite book? Something that gives them a choice so that they have some feeling of control when they have to go. That can often help kids. And then, of course, to remind them, why do you have to go? What is the best place to go? The hospital is a place of healing. That's its job, and it will help you be better, and that's why we're going there. And then anything you can do, this isn't just for children, this is for all of us,
Yes.
To remind us we need hospitals. And by the way, I'm sure that every hospital now that I can think of is beefing up their security and looking at their own methods of keeping their hospitals safe. So I would venture to guess that they're safer now than they were a few days ago.
Yes. Well, this segues perfectly into my last question, and I know we're wrapping up here, but as we said, a hospital, 24/7 operation, it is a place where people go to for help and healing. But one of the things I just couldn't help thinking about on Saturday during our coverage is who is helping to heal the people who have to work in the hospital. The hospital will not shut down. It is constantly open. So how does the hospital best help their folks? And how as a community can we wrap our arms around those folks who are working in that particular hospital?
It's an excellent question. Hospitals, as you say, have to keep going. I've been in even some wartime hospitals. You don't stop. You keep going because there are people who need you. How do we help them? We might send them notes. We might send them letters expressing our gratitude. And by the way, my heart goes out to Andrew Duarte, the officer who was killed, his family, and all the people who were affected. I'm going to send notes to them. But they know that they need to support each other. The expression that we use with children often is you can't pour from an empty pitcher. So they have to be refilled. People who work in hospitals have to be refilled. They have to be thanked. They have to be acknowledged for the tremendous good work that they do. And I hope we are all there for the hospital workers going forward.
Yeah, keeping your cup filled in whatever way you can and supporting that community.
Absolutely.
Dr. Lara Ashleman, thank you so much for taking time to
Thank
join
you,
us.
Michael.